After a very unsuccessful 2023 season, the Mets have a lot of work to do this offseason, and it starts with the internal decisions. The Mets will have a whopping 16 players eligible for arbitration, with ARB3 being headlined by Mets slugger Pete Alonso as his free agency approaches, with others including Daniel Vogelbach, Joey Lucchesi, Drew Smith, Eliezer Hernandez, and Trevor Gott. ARB2 includes Luis Guillorme, Tim LeCastro, Michael Perez, Brooks Raley, John Curtis, Jeff Brigham, and Sam Coonrod. ARB1 includes Rafael Ortega, DJ Stewart, David Peterson, and Danny Mendick. Due to the Mets' questionable roster construction in the past, David Stern's first tasks are expected to really plot the next direction of the organization, as the Mets' new president of baseball operations has been backed by ownership with his desire to choose his own staff and players. So of these players, these 16 players, who would you guys consider keeping? Who would you consider taking out? There's some that are more self-explanatory than others. I do want to add that Daniel Vogelbach, John Curtis, and Trevor Gott were all under Stearns with the Brewers, and he did non-tender them while he was with them. Maybe it's a possibility that he does do that again, but out of this entire list, because there's 16 of them, so you can pretty much draw a hand.
Obviously, there are some names that I want to shoot with a bazooka, starting with that waste of fat name is Daniel Vogelbach. Close behind Drew Smith, just enough. And the fact that he's probably getting a raise from $2.3 million, pushing what Trevor Gott, over Trevor Gott number, both those guys can go too. My deal is, again, obviously you want to bring in depth, and you can say, oh, just bomb all these guys. I'm okay keeping guys with minor league options, and then, again, letting Stearns bring in his own version of depth, because, again, you can never have enough. If you're, you look at Lucchese's an obvious pickup. Obviously, the polar bear, freaking pretty obvious. You got to pick between one of Guillorme or Mendick. One. The other one gets the fuck out of here. I prefer Mendick, but, who cares? Again, minor league option, have him sit in Syracuse.
Oh, boy, what a debate that is.
What a debate that would have been. Rafael Ortega, I think you can find better. DJ Stewart, obviously, a quick just $1.5 million. Again, if you can keep him in AAA, keep him in AAA, or have him battle for the fourth outfielder job. Tim LeCastro, again, has minor league options. I don't care. I love, he's a good meme, but it's $1 million. If you want to cut somebody else, find someone better, do it. Or have him sit in Syracuse, fine.
Not even worth $50K.
It's Michael Perez, who cares? Eliezer Hernandez, sure. Again, he was injured all of last year, but again, pitching depth. Again, if he's the 15th or 20th pitcher on the roster of the 40 men, okay. Who else? Curtis and Brigham. I think Brigham has minor league options and Coonrod has minor league options. So again, keeping them in Syracuse just to have. Again, if they're depth, they're not a guaranteed spot, and battling like this year. Oh, we need all these optionable relievers, Billy. Yeah, you couldn't have gotten actual good relievers. It's just we got to have ability for up and down. Yeah, that worked out great.
The first priority is goodbye, Drew Smith. Please. I mean, that has got to be just like the overall offseason. That's be one of the top priorities. I just can't take the pain anymore. If he hadn't been here for so long and just caused so many losses, it wouldn't bother me so much, but it's just been too long. He's a bad habit.
The fact that he's projected to get $2.3 million, he's not even worth half of that. That's the crazy.
He's not worth any of it. I don't care. I don't care if it was minimum salary. I just can't take it anymore. It's just too much pain. Once someone puts you through that kind of pain, you just can't see their face anymore. You know what I mean? He's just I can't say what he's like, but because it's not PG friendly, but I don't want him on the Mets next year. I'll just leave it at that for him. Obviously, Vogelbach, my feelings. No, thank you. I mean, enough is enough. We know you don't provide a lot of different things to the table. Just a lot of beef and nothing else. No water, nothing else. And then as far as you mentioned with Stearns having those ties with some of those other players and him non-tendering them, you could also make the argument he acquired them. So it's there was something that he liked about him, but then he didn't like him. So it could go either way. I mean, I don't put too much stock into it, but it's at least worth considering. But for me, DJ Stewart is the obvious, has to stay. Absolutely deserves a chance next year. Joey Lucchesi definitely deserves a chance next year. Generally speaking, I do try to keep some of the pitchers other than Drew Smith and, Eliezer Hernandez, probably not. Guillorme, absolutely not. I am so done with Luis Guillorme. I just think that his glove, it's good. It's good. Don't get me wrong, but I think that when you have a Lindor, Guillorme he just doesn't belong here. I mean, the offense was never great. It's gotten even worse. So I think that it's just enough, right? He's been here for another guy just been here for too long. We've talked so much about shaking it up, trying something new. These guys have been here for so long, not being productive. They gotta go. So Guillorme has to go. I'd get rid of Mendick too, because again, it's like, why settle for not even mediocrity? I mean, these guys are below average at the plate, far below average at the plate. You can't have that in a sport where there's injuries, where double headers, guys need to start. Danny Mendick and Luis Guillorme cannot be making starts. They are not going to give you anything offensively. They're never going to be able to fill in for any of your starters. So they all got to go. I mean, Tim LeCastro, no. I mean, most of them I don't want back. I mean, it's very few guys. Like, if Peterson's in there, sure, I'll bring him back. McGill, like, a lot of the pitchers I'll bring back because you always need a lot of pitchers. And some of these guys have a little bit of potential that can kind of do good things for you, like Lucchesi. I still give John Curtis another try. I still think he could do some more than we've seen a lot of other relievers. Not saying much. I give him a try. Brigham, I don't know. I mean, unless you have a whole new staff, maybe, but I just don't think that Hefner and I don't know unless Stearns could bring the Milwaukee pitching lab, I don't think they could fix him. I mean, that's just the point it's gone to. Coonrod, I mean, he looks so good in spring training, depending on what the offer is. If you give him some minor league options, sure, I'd bring him back. But other than that, most of the other guys, Michael Perez, absolutely not. Like, most of the guys have to go, honestly. I mean, this team was just so poor last year. A lot of these guys, they're just not, to me, major league caliber players. I just don't feel that way about a lot of these guys. So most of them I get rid of. I would keep DJ Stewart and a few of the pitchers. That's the way I see it.
Drew Smith can fuck off. Daniel Vogelbach can fuck off. Trevor Gott, I feel like they're going to probably end up bringing him back, but Eliezer Hernandez, I never thought he was good in general. Tim LeCastro, I don't even know why they brought this guy in anyway. Luis Guillorme, it's time to move on. Joey Lucchesi, I definitely bring back, obviously. Just, a lefty that has been somewhat trustworthy this year. Coonrod, Brigham, Curtis, all of them, I am not really opposed to bringing them back, but I'm also not opposed to keeping them. I really don't care. Michael Perez, who gives a shit? David Peterson, you already know I've been ready to cut ties with this guy for 2 years now, but obviously they're probably going to end up bringing him back, even though I don't think he's worth the $2 million that he's projected to get. Danny Mendick, fuck off. Rafael Ortega can fuck off. And then DJ Stewart, I would 100% bring back. Probably the most years of control out of everybody that we have available for arbitration, so I definitely would take advantage of that. If it's $1.5 million that you were originally paying Daniel Vogelbach, I would definitely give that to DJ Stewart. There's also a part of me that just says I'm fully committed to Stearns bringing in his own guys. We keep Alonso, you keep DJ Stewart, the rest of them, bye. Just completely clean house. Move on from some of these guys who've been in the organization for so long. Drew Smith, obviously, we're ready to get rid of anyway. David Peterson, move on from him. I mean, there's tons of guys here that it's just like, let's start fresh. This team didn't work. They won 75 games. They sucked. Most of these guys are in their mid-30s. They're slow. They're old. Let's move on. Let's bring in some of the youth. But obviously, you're going to have a lot of roster construction for that. At the end of the day, I'm not really against bringing back any of these guys besides Vogelbach and Drew Smith. Like, those are the only guys that I'm like, you cannot be here next year, and I will probably jump off a bridge if you are. Like, that's probably the current state that I'm in. And, Guillorme, I also would let go of. He's close to free agency anyway, but, it's just the fact that Guillorme has been here for more than 4 years. It's actually crazy to think of it because he was in and out of the minors for so long. But it's 16 guys that you're going to have to make a lot of decisions on. And, it's more than half of your roster. So at one point, you're going to have to see, what they can provide you. I feel like some of the values that are projected for some of these guys, some of them are overpaid for what they actually provide on the field, especially for what you saw from a 75-win team.
For Vogelbach, since Epler is gone, I feel like that definitely increases the chances of Vogelbach not coming back after the story that we talked about last week with Epler basically forcing of Vogelbach to still be on this team despite the rebuild and despite the struggles. So there really should be no debate there. There should be no allegiance to him. That should be a pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Stearns has a connection with Vogelbach, but like,
especially like, I mean, DJ Stewart, he could just provide so much more for you. The fact that he can make outfield starts,
he
that
did his
alone,
job.
He already
did Daniel
more value
Vogelbach's
than
job.
Vogelbach.
Like,
Exactly. So for a bench and like utility and versatility perspective, as far as value on a roster spot, like we talked about, since Vogelbach literally cannot do a single other thing, there's just absolutely 0 point. Literally.
Yeah, I mean, he's younger than Vogelbach. He plays more positions than Vogelbach. Everybody plays more. I play more positions than Vogelbach.
He plays 8 positions.
I play more positions than Vogelbach.
Positions. How about that? Like that alone, like 8 positions.
I mean, makes sense to just going forward to go with DJ Stewart no matter what over Daniel Vogelbach. There's no reason to have both of them here. It will depend on what the Mets see in the DH position. If they go externally, obviously, if they're going to put trust into Mark Vientos, or if they're going to, keep DJ Stewart here in the organization. I just want to see the Mets cut a lot of this fat. And there's a lot of fat on this list of 16-year